The alarm on Deck 7 screamed before I even touched the panel, and my hand was still an inch away from the metal when a voice behind me hissed low and sharp. "Touch that again," the cat warned, "and your teeth will find a new purpose." I froze mid-reach, heart pounding, because the voice did not sound like a joke this time. Sir Kath stood on the walkway behind me, her fur raised along her spine, her tail snapping side to side like a whip that had not decided where to land. Red light pulsed across the walls of the ship, painting her pale eyes the color of warning flares. 3 seconds ago, the corridor had been silent. Now every light on the deck blinked red, and somewhere deep in the hull, something was counting down. My name is Daniel Wren, and I had been on this ship for 11 months, floating through the black beyond any border a human mind was built to understand. I had learned to sleep through engine hum, to eat food that tasted like nothing, to trust people who did not look anything like me. I had not learned to stay away from things marked forbidden. That flaw was about to matter more than it ever had before. The panel in front of me was the resonance core, a cylinder of dark metal humming at the center of the observation deck, wired into every sensor on the ship. An hour earlier it had been calm and boring, just background noise. Now it was flashing amber numbers that dropped 1 digit every second, and the ship's own AI had gone silent, which was worse than any alarm. Sir Kath moved closer, claws out, but she was not looking at me anymore. She was looking past me, at the numbers ticking down on the core. "Someone locked it," she said, her voice suddenly flat and careful. "Someone from outside this ship reached into our system and locked the failsafe. If that counter reaches 0, every sensor array on this vessel overloads at once, and we go blind in the middle of a debris field moving faster than sound." I turned back to the panel. My hand was still hovering where she had stopped it. "So touching it now is not the problem," I said. "Not touching it is the problem." Her ears twitched, and for one strange second something like understanding passed between us, quick and unspoken. She stepped beside me, closer than she had ever stood before, and for the first time since I had met her, she did not tell me to back away. "Then help me open it," she said, "and do exactly what I say, when I say it." I had never seen the inside of the resonance core. Nobody had, as far as I knew. Sir Kath pressed her paw against a hidden seam near the base, and the outer shell folded open with a soft click, revealing a tangle of glowing filament wrapped around a black sphere no bigger than my fist. The countdown numbers reflected off the surface of the sphere, climbing down through triple digits: 67, 66, 65. "This is not Thren design," she said, studying the filament with narrowed eyes. "This pattern belongs to nobody on this crew." "Then who put it here?" I asked, though some part of me already guessed the answer would not make things simpler. A voice answered instead of her, coming from a small speaker clipped near the core, tinny and calm in a way that made my skin crawl. "Nobody you know," the voice said. "Consider this a gift from someone who does not enjoy sharing a system with your kind. You have 1 minute left to admire your handiwork before the whole array goes dark, and your ship becomes very easy to find, and very hard to defend." The voice cut off. Sir Kath's tail stopped moving entirely, which somehow scared me more than the countdown did. "Who was that?" I asked. "Raiders," she answered. "The kind that follow trade routes and wait for ships without escorts. They must have slipped a device onto the hull during our last supply stop, and waited for us to drift far enough from help." 49, said the counter. 48. I looked at the tangle of filament, at the glowing sphere at its center, and my mind raced through every wire diagram I had studied out of boredom over the past 11 months. Every system briefing I had half listened to during meals. None of it had prepared me for this exact shape of trouble, but something about the pattern looked familiar, like a puzzle I had solved once in a simpler form. "If we pull the filament, does it stop the count?" I asked. "No," she said quickly. "Pulling triggers it early. We are not meant to touch it at all. That is the design. Whoever built it wanted panic to finish the job that the timer starts. Then we need something that is not touching, I said, thinking out loud now, faster than my fear could catch up with me. Something that interrupts the signal without breaking the wires. Her eyes flicked toward me, sharp and considering, the same way they had the day I first reached for a switch she had warned me not to touch. You have an idea, she said. It was not a question. 36. 35. The core is reading resonance, right? I said. That is its whole purpose. It listens to vibration across the hull and reports it back to the sensors. If the bomb is wired into that same reading, then maybe we do not need to touch the wires at all. Maybe we just need to change what it is listening to. Sirkath's whiskers twitched forward, and for the first time since the alarm began, something in her posture eased, just slightly, like a held breath finally released halfway. You want to feed it false information, she said. I want to make it think everything is calm, I said, when everything is not. 28. 27. There was no time to explain further. I grabbed the small toolkit clipped to my belt, the same one I had carried on every walk through this ship, useful for nothing more exciting than fixing loose panels until this exact moment. Inside was a small vibration emitter, meant for calibrating equipment, humming softly the second I switched it on. Hold this steady against the sphere, I told her, and match its pulse until I say stop. She did not argue. She pressed the emitter flat against the black sphere, with a paw that did not shake, even though the numbers behind her kept falling. 20, 19, 18. I reached into the tangle of filament, careful not to pull anything, and adjusted the frequency dial with fingers that felt clumsy and slow, no matter how fast I told them to move. The core's internal light flickered once, twice, then steadied into a soft blue instead of the angry amber it had shown before. 12. 11. Faster, Sirkath said, her voice tight but steady. I turned the dial one more click, matching the new blue pulse to the rhythm coming off the emitter, praying silently that I understood the pattern correctly, that the sphere would read calm where there had only been chaos a moment ago. 7. 6. The numbers stopped. They did not vanish. They simply froze at 6, glowing quiet and still, no longer counting anything at all. The red light along the corridor walls faded slowly back into the pale white of a normal working deck, and somewhere far above us, the ship's AI voice returned, calm and unaware of how close it had come to losing its own eyes. Sirkath pulled her paw back from the sphere and looked at me for a long moment without speaking. Her tail had gone still, resting flat against the deck instead of snapping through the air. You should not have known how to do that, she said finally. Neither should you have trusted me enough to try, I answered. She made a low sound in her throat, something between a growl and something softer, something I had never heard from her in 11 months of sharp warnings and narrowed eyes. The raiders will know it failed soon enough, she said, turning toward the corridor exit. They will not try the same trick twice, but they may try something else, and next time we may not have 6 seconds to spare. Then we had better be ready before they knock again, I said. She looked back at me once, before we walked toward the bridge together, her pale eyes catching the returning light of the deck, and for the first time since I had come aboard this strange ship full of strange people, I saw something in her expression that was not warning, and was not distance either. It looked almost like respect, quiet and unspoken, the kind that does not need words to prove itself. Behind us, the resonance core sat quiet and steady, its blue light humming softly, holding the whole ship's sight together by nothing more than a few careful turns of a small dial, and the fact that neither of us had backed away when it mattered most. We reached the bridge just as the captain looked up from the main console, confusion and relief crossing her face at once when she saw us walk in together, calm, unharmed, and very much alive. Sirkath answered before anyone could ask a single question. Your human touched something he was told not to touch, she said, and it saved every life on this ship. I did not argue with that description, After 11 months out here, I had learned there were worse things to be known for.